Hello everyone, welcome to the part 6 of our CSS series. So in this will be the last session of CSS. After this we will move forward to CSS mini project, but in this last session what we are gonna do is that we are gonna learn 4 most important concepts, and these 4 concepts are: first of all, we are going to learn about what is a GridBox model. After that we will see how we can apply animations in our CSS file. After that we will talk about media queries, another important concept, and finally we will end up this session by talking about the concept of z-index. So let us begin with our first concept of this session, which is GridBox model. So what is a GridBox model? We have studied in the part 5, we have studied flexbox model, right? So flexbox model is used to arrange a set of elements in a linear fashion, in a one-dimensional fashion. For example, let's say that I'm having a external container, or you can say parent container. This is a parent container, and inside that I'm having 4 div blocks, right? 4 internal child div blocks, right? This is my div block 1, div block 2, div block 3, div block 4. Because div is a block element, it will occupy the entire width like this, right? And if there is no space inside the parent container, then the child element, then the child div will come outside of the parent container. Okay, now when I give flex, when I give display flex, then what will happen is that this structure will get converted to a structure like this. This is a parent container, and inside that container my first div will come here, second div will be like this, third div, and fourth div. When I give flex, this is what will happen, and the elements will get arranged in a single dimension fashion. Okay, so flex is used to arrange a set of elements inside a parent container in a single dimension, in a one dimension format. Now my question is, I don't want to arrange items in a single dimension. I want to arrange my items in a 2-dimensional fashion. How I can do it? I want to arrange my items in the form of rows and columns. How we gonna do it? We can do that using the concept of GridBox model. So GridBox model is very similar to flexbox model, but the only difference between grid and flex is that flex is used for one-dimensional arrangement, whereas grid is used to arrange your elements in a 2D format, right? So the thing you need to keep in your mind is that whenever you are creating a complex 2D structure, then you should always go with div, go with the GridBox model, right? And most of the cases, around 80% of the cases, we are gonna use flex because it is easy to understand, and all the developers most of the times use flexbox model. But we should only use grid model if we are creating a 2D structure, 2D design, then and only we should use grid model, or else flex is very viable, flex is very easy to understand, and we can understand what is happening in flexbox model better when compared to GridBox model. Anyways, so the thing you need to keep in mind is that flex is used to arrange elements in a single dimension, whereas GridBox model is used to arrange a set of elements in a 2D format in the form of rows and columns. If we want to create a 2D structure, 2D design, then we are gonna use grid. Clear? Now let us see how grid will works, and there are some terminologies of grid. We will talk about that. After it we'll move towards the properties of GridBox model. Okay, so to apply flexbox, what we use, we will write display and after that flex. By just writing that, all the elements will start to behave as a flexbox model. Similarly, to create a GridBox model, we will write display grid. And when we write display grid, automatically a default CSS grid will get formed in our file. Okay, now if I talk about this theory, then you will not understand it. Okay, so I will show you the code. After it we'll talk about, there are some terminologies related to GridBox model, we will talk about that. But before that, let me show you how GridBox model work. with a sample code. Okay. So in the HTML I have created a file called as grid.html. Now in this I will import my boilerplate code, and I will give title as GridBox model. GridBox model. Now I will attach this to a styling link. href is equals to style.css. Now in the body I will create a container, parent container. Inside that container I will create child containers, items of my grid. This is my first item, second item, third item, fourth item, and fifth item. So inside the parent container, inside this container class, I have created 5 div blocks with the class name item. Now in the style, what I'm gonna do is that I will give the container class a styling container. For container, let's say I'm giving width as 600 pixel and height as, let's say height I'm giving 300 pixel. Okay, 300 pixel, and background color, let's say we are giving black, so I will give background color as black. Now for each and every item I will give item, and let's say for each and every 5 blocks which is item, this is the item class, right? So for all this items class I am giving a default styling, let's say width as 100 pixel and height as 100 pixel, and background color let us give yellow, because if our container, parent container is black, then we can easily visualize it our items with yellow color, because this will create a differentiating between what is parent and what is child. Okay, now let's say I'm giving border as 1 pixel solid black, okay, black. Now let me save this and run this code. I will run this here now. Okay, refresh this thing. You will see that I got the items something like this. So this is my first div, second div, third div, fourth div, fifth div, and this is my parent container. Now because parent container is having height, because parent container, you can see that parent container is having 300 pixel height. Because it is having 300 pixel height, only 3 div blocks are like getting fitted inside this parent container. Now what I'm gonna do is that I will give here display in the style, I will give in the parent, I will give display grid, and save this and go to your document. You will observe that there is no change, but when you click on inspect and hover over the items, you will see that there are some dotted purple lines. And when you see dotted purple lines, it tells you that you have applied a GridBox model for your child divs, right? This shows that okay, GridBox model has applied here. Now let us talk about some terminologies. In order to understand how GridBox model work, there are some terminologies which is really important to understand. So let us talk about that. So the work of GridBox model is to arrange a set of elements in a 2D format, and you can visualize this as a form of a matrix, right? And in matrix we have rows, we have columns, and the lines, the vertical lines involved in this structure is known as column lines, and the horizontal line in this structure is known as row lines. And combining this rows and column lines, we call them together as grid lines. So what are grid lines? Grid lines is nothing but column lines and row lines. Row lines are the vertical lines in a grid, row lines are the horizontal lines in the GridBox model, and column lines are the vertical lines in GridBox model. Okay, now what is grid cell? If you notice that whenever 2 column lines and 2 row lines are intersecting, we are getting a box like this, right? We are getting a box something like this, and we call this box as a grid cell. Okay, clear. Now the third terminology here is that grid tag. Grid tag is nothing but, let's say you are taking any 2 column lines or any two row lines. So when you take any two row lines or column lines, you will get a track like this. Let's say I'm taking column line 3, column line 4. Now if you notice that by just having line 1, line 3 and line 4, I will get a track like this. We call this track as a grid track. Okay, I hope you are clear. These are the terminologies which are involved in GridBox model. Okay, now in the code, in the CSS, I have created a container, a parent container and child containers, right? This is my child container 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now when I give display grid, then what happened is that all the elements defaultly arranged in grid model, and they are how many rows are involved here? First row, second row, third row, fourth row, fifth row. So when I give display grid, it creates 5 rows defaultly and 0 columns. So you need to understand that when you give display grid, the default CSS styling would be, it will create how many divs are there? It will create that many rows and 0 columns. So to create our columns explicitly, we use the properties of GridBox model. I hope you have understood till now what is GridBox model, terminologies involved in it. Now let us talk about the properties of GridBox model. Okay, now talking about the properties of GridBox model, the first property is grid template. So grid template is used to create tracks in your grid. Now we know what is a track. Let's say there is a column line 1 and column line 2. By combining these two lines, whatever the space we are getting in between, we call this as track, or you can call it as grid tag, whatever you want, right? So we call them as grid tracks. So to create grid tracks in your code, in your GridBox model, we use grid template. So we'll write grid template rows. After it we'll give, let's say I want to create 3 tracks inside my GridBox model. Then I will write, and each track spacing would be 100 pixels. So I will write 100 pixel, 100 pixel, 100 pixel. So when I write this now, then what will happen is that it will create track 1, track 2 and track 3. So each track width would be 100 pixel. Each track spacing, or you can say size, would be 100 pixel, 100 pixel. I hope you have understood how grid templates work. I will show you in code, no need to worry at all. Now if I want to create columns, if I want to create column tracks, then I will write grid template columns. Let's say I want to create 3 columns, so 3 column tracks basically. So I will write 100 pixel, 100 pixel, 100 pixel. You can give size whatever you want, and what this will do is that it will create 3 tracks, track 1, track 2 and track 3, and each track size would be 100 pixel, 100 pixel and 100 pixel. Like this we can use grid template to create tracks in your GridBox model. Now let us see how this property work. Okay, so defaultly I have 5 rows because I am having 5 div blocks. Now I want to create 3 vertical tracks in my GridBox model. You can observe that initially I am having 5 tracks. This is my horizontal tracks, or you can say row tracks. Row track 1, row track 2, 3, 4, 5. I am having 5 horizontal tracks. Now I want 3 vertical tracks along with it. How I can do it? I can do it using grid column or grid template column property. So what I will do is that inside the code I will give grid template column, and each track size would be, I want it to be 100 pixel. So I will give 100 pixel, 100 pixel and 100 pixel. Now let me save this and go to the code. You will observe now that I am having 3 tracks, 3 vertical tracks, and each track size is 100 pixel, 100 pixel, 100 pixel. Like this we can create n number of tracks using the concept of grid template column. Now let's say that I want to create 4 row tracks or 4 column tracks. Now what I can do is that here I will give again 100 pixel, 100 pixel. So what this will do is that it will create how many tracks? One vertical track, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this will create 100 pixel, 100 pixel, 100 pixel, like this, 5 vertical tracks. So let me save this and go to the code. Now you will observe that I have created 5 vertical tracks. Each track is having 100 pixel width. Like this, we can create n number of tracks, n number of rows tracks, n number of column tracks. Now within this, let's say I want to create what, 3 horizontal, which is nothing but row tracks. Then I will give here grid template. In the place of column, I will give row here, rows, and here I will give 100 pixel or 200 pixel, 200 pixel, 200 pixel. Now let me save this and go to the document. You will observe that defaultly I will get here, okay, let me inspect it. Okay, defaultly I will get 2 horizontal tracks with 200 pixel height and 5 vertical tracks. Each track is having 100 pixel height. Like this, I can create number of tracks for my GridBox model using grid template column property. Now let us talk about other property. There is a shorthand for grid template. The shorthand for grid template is that you will write your property, after that you will write repeat, and you will write the count, how many times, how many tracks you want to create and at what fraction, right? This will tell you, okay, this is the container you're having, and for this container, let's say I want to create 2 vertical tracks. So what this will do is that it will divide your container in 2 equal parts and it will create 2 tracks, 2 vertical tracks. Like this, you can use this shorthand property. You know, in the previous property, which is basically same, we are giving tracks separately, 100 pixel, 100 pixel, 100 pixel. Now my question is, let's say that you want to create 100 tracks, 100 vertical tracks. So are you gonna give 100 as 100 times? No. What you will do is that you will use shorthand here. You will write repeat 100 comma 1 fr. So what this will do is that it will create 100 vertical tracks with equal spacing. Okay, so let us use this shorthand. So in the code, I will remove this and I will give grid template column repeat, and I want to create 4 vertical tracks and 1 fr. Let me save and go to the document. You will see that I got 4 equal tracks, right? This is my div 1, div 2, div 3. These 4 divs are arranged equally. You need to understand that when you give 1 fr, the arrangement will happen in a structured distributed format. Okay, clear? Okay, got it. Now let us observe our grid here. You will observe that my grid is divided into 4 equal tracks, 4 equal distributed tracks, and the 5th block is coming in the next grid model, next row. Like this, we can use the shorthand of grid template column to create n number of columns. Now my question is, I want to create 1000 rows, 1000 tracks. Then what I will do is that here I will give, in the place of 4, I will give 1000 and save this. Go to your document now and observe, just observe the number of tracks. You will see that I got 1000 tracks, 1000 vertical tracks. Like this, we can create a number of tracks using grid template column or grid template row shorthand. Okay, so here I will give 4. I don't want 1000, so I will give 4. Save this and go to the website. Yeah, this is my website. Now the next property we are going to talk about is grid gaps. Okay, so this property is used to create the gap between the any 2 corresponding cells. Let's say this is my cell, right? this is my cell, this is my another cell, this is my third cell. In this grid model I am having this 3 horizontal, these 3 row cells basically. Okay, now if I want to create, if I want to increase, let me erase this. Okay, let me erase this. I want to show you clearly. Okay, so I want to create space between corresponding divs, right, corresponding item, or you can say grid cells. So to create spacing between grid cells, we use the property grid gap. So to implement grid gap, we are having if I want to create row gap in terms of rows, if I wanna create a row in the form of rows, then I will give a row gap, and this will create horizontal spacing. Okay, if I wanna create vertical spacing, then I will give column space. Okay, now if I want to give both like column as well as grid gap, then I will use grid. First of all, I will give what or how much I want to give spacing. Let's say I want to give 10 pixel row gap, after 10 pixel column gap, then I will automatically create 10 pixel gap between each and every grid cell. Okay, let us see how this will work. In the code, I am having 0 spacing, right? This is my cell 1. After it, immediately I am getting another cell. After it, like this, I am getting cells, and the spacing between any 2 corresponding cell is 0. Now I want to create spacing between this. How I can do it? I can do it using grid gap property. So in the code, I will give here, in the code I will give, let's say I want to give row gap. I want to create row gap as 20 pixel. 20 pixel would be good. Okay, 20 pixel. Save this and go to your document. Now just observe the spacing here. Now you will observe that there is some space, some blurred purple color line which is coming here, and this shows that the space has created between cells in terms of rows. Now if I want to create in terms of columns, then I will give here column gap 30 pixel. Okay, save this and go to your document and observe the inspection. You will see that now my spacing, vertical spacing, is now 30 pixel. Like this, we can create gaps between any 2 corresponding or all cells in my grid model. Okay, now we can also use shorthand. So here I will give, instead of giving separately, I will use shorthand here. So I will write grid gap, and I will write 100, or I don't want 100 pixel, 10 pixel, 20 pixel. Save this and observe now. You will observe that the horizontal spacing is 10 pixel, vertical spacing is 20 pixel. Like this, we can use the property of grid gap. The next property is grid column and grid rows. These are the 2 properties which are very similar, basically same. Okay, so grid column is used to extend an element. What I mean by extension is that let's say that this is my container, and in that container I am having column 1, column 2, column 3, 3 columns I am having, and inside that I am having, this is my GridBox model 1, div 1, div 2, div 3, div 4. Now I want this particular div to start at 0th column or 0th line. This is my line 0, line 1, line 2, line 3 and line 4, right? I know what is vertical lines, what is basically columns line. I know what is it. Okay, now I want my div 1, this is my div 1, to start at line 0 and end at line 2, and after line 2 the next element should come. I want to create a structure like this, right? This is my line 0, line 1, line 2, line 3 and line 4. I am having structure like this. Now I want my div, my first div, to start at 0 and end at 1, end at line 2, and after that the next element, this is my div 2, div 3 and div 4 should come. So to create structure like this, we use the concept of grid column. So grid column defines item starting and ending position inside column. So if you want to increase the spacing of a particular, increase the overall space occupying of a particular element, you will write grid column. In terms of if you want to change in terms of column, then you will write grid column. Similarly, if you want to create a structure in which this is my container, inside that I am having row 0, row 1, row 2. Now I want my div to start at row 0 and end at row 2, something like this. So we will use grid rows. If we want to create a structure in which the elements start at some vertical line and end at some x vertical line, so in that we will use grid column. If we want to create a structure where the elements extend in horizontal format, right, in rows format, then we will use grid rows. So grid rows is defined is used to define the starting position and ending position of a particular item. In terms of rows, we use grid rows. In terms of column, we use grid column. Now how we gonna implement this? We can implement this by writing, we will write grid column start and we will give line number. Let's say I want to start at line 1, which is my column line 1, and I want to end my element at line 3. How I can do it? I can do it by writing this property. Okay, now let me show you the code. Enough theory, let me show you the code. So for a particular item, let's say for the first item, I am giving another class 1. Okay, now you can see that I am having code simply like this. Okay, I am having clear, structured, equally spaced structure like this. Now I want my element to start at line 0, which is basically line 1, and end at line 3, right, to start here and end here. How I can do it? I can do it using the property of grid column. So inside my CSS, I will give for one class, for my item dot 1, I will give, let's say that I'm increasing width as 200 pixel, and I will increase the starting and the ending. I will define the starting position and the ending position of this cell. So I will write grid column start, let's say it should start at line 1 and it should end, grid column end at line 3, right, line 3. So the styling is not getting applied because we need to remove this item. Okay, now let me save this and go to the document. Okay, now you will observe that the element is now starting at line 0, right, the element is starting at line 0 and ending at line 3, and it is having width. I'm increasing width to show you the occupancy, how the div 1 is occupying space. I'm also increasing the width of that particular item. Anyways, you need to understand that it is starting at line 1, ending at line 3. Okay, got it. So to create this sort of structure to define the starting and the ending point of a particular item in terms of rows and column, we use grid column start, grid column end. This will define the element starting position and ending position in terms of column. Now if you want to change it in terms of rows, then you will use grid row start, and you will use the same thing which I used here. In terms of column, you will basically give row here. So the next properties are very common. These are very similar to flexbox model. In flexbox I have studied different property, right? Similarly here also we are gonna talk about different properties. Okay, so the first property here is justify item. So justify items will tell you how you're gonna arrange elements in a horizontal format, right? Whether you wanna arrange elements in the center or at the end in horizontal format, you can move a single you can say cell. Okay, now justify cell is used to specify a particular item. Okay, so I will show you some properties here, but I want you to experiment all this. How many properties I'm having? 1 2 3 4 5 6, right? 6 properties. I want you to experiment with all these 5 properties. I will show you some properties, some of this here. Okay, justify item, container, justify cell. We will see how this will work. Let us see this. Instead of talking, let us talk about the working of it. So here inside this I will give justify items, and I want this to be in the center of the cell. So let me save this and go to the document. You will observe this now. The elements will come right in the center of the cell. Now if I give end, then the element will come in the end of the cell. So here I will give end, save here. Now you'll observe that the elements are coming at the end of the cell. Now if I give here start, then the elements will come at the starting position of my grid. So grid, like this, the elements will come. Similarly, if I give justify align items for container, right? So align items start, then the element will come at the end. All the elements will start to come at the starting position. Now if I give here align items end, save and go here, you will observe that vertically the elements will come at the end, right? So justify items is used to move elements horizontally. To move elements we use justify items. To move elements vertically we use align items. Okay, got it. The next property we are having is place items. So place items, let us see what this will do. Place items, let's say I want to give here and save this. You will see that at the horizontal, both vertically and horizontally, the elements, the result is getting applied both vertically and horizontally. The element is coming at the end both in vertical direction as well as in horizontal direction. Like this we can implement our concepts. Now I have shown you justify items, align items, place items, 3 properties, and I want you guys to experiment with justify self, align self and place self. And you need to remember that these items are used, this item, justify item, align item, place items are for container, are for group of containers, whereas justify self, align self and place self is for a single element. So here I have created a one class, right? So for this one class you should apply all your justify self, all these properties. Okay, got it. So this is about our GridBox model. We have completed our GridBox model. Now the next concept of this session is animations. Animations is really important, believe me. And you know, let me show you a sample website. Let me what sample website should I show you? SV Angels. This is a VC firm, right? SV Angels, very popular. I'm not promoting it, but anyways, yeah, you will see your website like this. Initially the website is coming like this. Now after that, if you go, the overall state of the website is changing. The website is changing from black to white, white to black. As I scroll down, how this is happening? One of the key reasons is animations. Similarly, if I show you this animation, whenever you hover over this SV Angels logo, you will observe that the position of item, the position of this image is changing. How? Animations. Okay, I hope you have understood that how cool the animations are going to be. Okay, let us begin with our theory again. CSS animations are used to change the state of a particular element, whatever the element might be. It can be an image, it can be a div block, text, whatever it might be. To change the state of a particular element, we use CSS animations. And this thing, CSS animations, is very similar to transform properties. We have seen how transformation, transitions work in, I think, part 4. Right, in part 4 we have seen, and this thing, animations, is going to be very similar to that, but this is way more advanced. This is what we use. We don't use transitions, transformations that much, but most of the cases we use CSS animations. Okay, let us talk about what are animations. Animations are used to change the state. Let's say I'm creating h1 tag, and defaultly it will have a initial state. Now whenever an action gets performed on this h1 tag, I want to change the state of this particular tag. How I can do it? I can do it using the concept of animations. If I want to change the state change of a particular element of this h1 tag, then we will use CSS animation concept. Okay, now to apply CSS animation concepts, we need to understand that there is a concept called as keyframes. So keyframes is the blueprint of your animation, right? So keyframe is the blueprint of your animation. I know that you might not get it right now, but when I show you the code now, believe me, you will understand each and every nuance of our animation. Whatever the things are going on, you will understand it. Okay, now what is blueprint? What is CSS animation blueprint, to be specific? You know, to build a house, architects first of all creates the blueprint of the house. Similarly, to create animation, first of all we will create the blueprint of your animation. After that we will apply your animation. Okay, so first of all, the first step of CSS animation, is the blueprint. First of all, we will define what will happen when this action takes place, how the state of a particular item is gonna change. We will define the blueprint. After that we will apply our animation. Okay, got it. Now let us talk about how we can create our blueprint. We can create our blueprint using the keyword keyframe. So first of all, we will write keyframe. Inside that we will write the initial stage. From represents the initial stage, and to represents the final state of your animation. Okay, from, let's say I want to change the text size as font size 20 pixel to 40 pixel. Then I will write keyframe, whatever the name of the animation I'm gonna give. Let's say Jabir animation is my animation name. So I will write Jabir animation, curly braces. Inside the curly braces I will write, okay, this is the initial state. In the initial state the elements are like this. Okay, now as the state changes, as the state moves from initial state to final state, what will happen in between it? How you gonna define it? This is what to state will define. Okay, now let us see how blueprint works. Now to understand how animations work, I'm gonna create a HTML sample files and I will give title as animations. animations, and I will attach this to a style website. Let's say I have created a styling website annie.style. So here I will attach this to annie.style.css. Now in this, what I will do is that first of all I will write my h1 tag, heading tag, animations in CSS. Now I will create a div. Let's say that I'm creating a div and I'm creating a box. Let's say that for this box, okay, this is a box. I'm writing this. Now in this annie.css for box, I will give styling as, let's say that I'm giving styling as height 100 pixel, width 100 pixel, and let's say background color gray, and text color or foreground color white, and what we can give text align center. I want to align text, and let's set font size as medium would be good. Yeah, let me save this and observe. Remove SLV angels, and let me run this website. First of all I want to run this website. Okay, you will observe that I got the box something like this, animation in CSS. This is a gray box. Let me give 200. Initially 200 would be good. 200 and 200. Okay, save this and go to the website. Yeah, you will see that I'm having a box like this. This is a box text I'm having, and I will change the font size also. Let us give some font size here. Font size as 20 pixel would be good. Now let me save this and go here, refresh. You will see that I'm having animation in CSS. This is a box, and box is having 200 pixel height, 200 pixel width. Now to apply our CSS animations, what I will do is that I will first of all define my blueprint. So I will write key frames, and I will give my animation name. Let's say my animation is Annie. Now inside that I will give from, and in this I want my text. First of all I will apply my animation for text. I want to increase the size of my text, so I will write font size 20 pixel to, let's say font size as 50 pixel. Okay, 50 pixel. Now let me save and go to the document. You will observe, refresh this, you will observe that nothing is happening. Why nothing is happening? Because this is a blueprint. So to apply animation in your screen, in your CSS, we have to apply our blueprint. So to apply blueprint, we are gonna use this properties. So let us use this properties. So first of all, in the parent container, I will write what animation I want to implement. Let's say I want to implement animation name, and my animation name is Annie, right? So I will write Annie. Okay, save, and after that I will give what are the properties I'm having. I'm having animation duration. So animation duration will tell me for how many seconds your animation is going to happen, right? After timing function will tell you, okay, how the animation should be. There are various timing function like is in cubic, like, okay, in what fashion you want to show your animation. We will see how timing work. After completing animation, do you want to show some delay function? After that, iteration count, for how many times you want to run this animations. Let's say I want to run this animation for 4 times, then here I will write 4. And direction, we will see how this will work. First of all, I have written animation name Annie, and animation duration, I want this animation to happen for 2 seconds, so I will write 2 seconds. After animation timing function is in, right? Easily this animation should happen. Okay, now after that, animation delay what, 0 seconds. I don't want any delay in my animation. Now animation direction, so I want this animation direction to be animation direction, not duration, direction to be like normal, whatever the animation is happening, normal. Now let me save and and one more thing is that along with it I will give animation iteration count, and I want this animation to happen for 5 times or 3 times. So 3, I will save this and go to the document, refresh the document. You will observe that the text is increasing 1 time, 2 time and 3 time. That's all. Like this we can create animations in our CSS. Now we can also apply multiple things. For example, let's say that I want to change the color of my text is now white, right? So I want to change, as the text size increases, I want to change the color as black, and along with it I want to change the div size also. So my div size is right now width is 200 pixel and height is 200 pixel. Okay, now I want to increase height as 300 pixel and width as 300 pixel, and along with it I want to change the overall shape of my item, my container. So I will write border radius, what I can give 50%, and along with it let's say that I want to change the background color to white or aqua would be good. Now after that, what I can give here, now I want to give iteration count as infinity. I want this animation to happen for infinite time. Then I will give infinity and direction as alternate. We will see what alternate will do. See the animation, and I want to move the object as well. So I will move the object as margin, let's say 200 pixel. I want to move the object by 200 pixel. So you will see that the object is changing from gray to this, and this is what the animation will look like, and this animation will continue for infinite time. Like this we can apply animations in our CSS. I hope you have understood. Now if you wanna apply delay, then I will give 2 seconds, and you will see that when the animation got completed, it will wait for 2 seconds and it will go back. Like this the delay will happen. I hope you have understood how animations will work in CSS. Like this you can create very interesting patterns, very interesting things in CSS using animation concepts. Similarly, we have one more mini thing here regarding animations, is that let's say that we have given from and to, and these are absolute, right? We have a fixed initial state, fixed final state, and whatever the things happening in between it, we are giving animation. Clear? Now I want to give animations in between. Let's say at initial state, which is 0%, and final state is 100%. Now I want to give some animations, some new animations at 30%. Whenever the state transaction is happening from initial to final state, let's say this initial state is 0% and final state is 100%. Whenever this transition is happening at 30%, I want to give some new things. Then I will use this concept. Instead of giving from, I will write 0%. Instead of giving to, I will give 100%, and at 30% I will write my new thing, right? Whatever I want to create, I will create it, right? So what will happen is that at 0% this animation will happen, and at 30% this animation will happen. After that, at 50%, this in this space this animation will get applied. Like this we can use percentage in animation as well. Okay, I hope you are very clear with animations, how this will work and all these things. Now the next very important concept is media queries. So media queries are used to make our sites responsive. Let's say that you want to make your site responsive for mobile, for a computer, for a TV. You want to make your site responsive. Then what you're going to use is that you're going to use the concept of media queries. using the concept of media queries, you can make your site responsive. Okay, so how we gonna do it? We are gonna do it, but before we're gonna talk, let me show you what I mean by media queries. Let me go to our all-time favorite website, Medium. This is a Medium website. Click on inspect and observe the website. Now as you move, you will see that some options are coming and you are decreasing the screen size. As you decrease the screen size, the options are getting disappeared. How you gonna do it? Using the concept of media queries. So let us see how media queries work. To implement media queries, what we will do is that we will write media, and let's say this is my screen, right? This is my screen. Now this will be my width and this would be my height. Okay, now I want to change some options in my screen as the width size is decreasing. Now I'm like decreasing the width size. I'm compressing my width, basically my screen size. Then I want to change something. I want to change some options, some elements in my screen. How I'm gonna do it? I'm gonna do it using the concept of media queries. I will write media and I will write width 400 pixel. So when the width is exactly 400 pixel, this property will get applied. Okay, now let us see how we can apply it. In the document, I have created a file called as media.html. After that, I have created a styling, and first of all, in the h1 tag, in the basically HTML file, I have created a tag, basically h1 media queries. Now after that, for that particular element, I have given background color as yellow and border radius as black. Now let me run this. Let me run this file. So I will run this here. You will see that I am getting website like this, media query, and this is the background color, border radius of this particular website, web page. Now I want this site that whenever I reach a width screen size as 400 pixel, I want to apply something. I want to change the background color of this. Then what I will do is that in this CSS, I will give media @media, and I will give width as 400 pixel, Now for this, whenever my screen size is now 400 pixel, for h1 element, I want to change the background color as red and red, here red, and my foreground color as white. So let me save this and go to the document. You will see that nothing happened. But when I change the aspect ratio of your screen, you can see that my aspect ratio, my width is now like what, 400 pixel? No, exactly 400 pixel. At exactly 400 pixel, this will happen. You will see that at exactly 400 pixel, not a single pixel above or single pixel below, exactly at 400 pixel, my media query will get applied. You know, this blinking is happening. Yeah, exactly 400 pixel, the background color is changing and the foreground color is changing. Like this, we can apply the property of media queries. Now let's say that when the width is at max 400 pixel, I want to apply this. Then here in the place of width, I will give max width. So what this will happen, what this will do is that I will create let's say when the maximum width of the screen is 400 pixel, then my properties, whatever the things I'm creating inside it, will get applied, right? Similarly, I can also give background color as black. Background color as black. What is happening here? BLACK, black. Let me save this. Yeah, I need to give here curly braces. Okay, yep, save this. Yeah, now screen size is greater than 400 pixel, which is if my width at max is 400 pixel, then my media query style will get applied. If it is greater than 400 pixel, then the media query styling will not get applied. Okay, got it. Now what I'm gonna do is that I will click on inspect and I will increase the width size. Width size is now 800 pixel now, right? 800 pixel. Now I'm gonna decrease the size of my screen. So as my screen size decreases from 400 pixel, you will see that the media query property is now getting applied, right? Like this we can apply. Now the background color is black and the overall text color is also black. Similarly, if you click on inspect and watch it for mobile screen, right? Watch it for mobile screen. Let's say I'm changing the mobile screen to iPhone XR, and let's say that iPhone SE. For iPhone SE, the width is now 375. When the width is less than 400, this styling will get applied. Now if I rotate my phone, the web page will look like this. Like this we can apply media queries. Similarly, you can also apply your media queries for orientation as well. Let's say your phone is in landscape mode. When the phone is in landscape mode, you wanna show your website in some sense. When your phone is in vertical, which is portrait mode, you want to show something, then you can use a media query @media query in the parenthesis orientation, let's say vertical or landscape. For landscape orientation. Now for landscape orientation, you want your h1 tag to have a background color as blue violet and color as white, and font family, let's say font family as this one. I don't know what this is, and I want this website background color as yellow green. Let me save this. Now go to your site and I will remove the responsive site. You will see that this is a landscape mode, right? And for landscape mode, my website would be the background color of this web page would be yellow green, and for h1 tag the background color is blue violet and the text is white, like this. Now if I change this to vertical format, let's say I'm changing this to vertical format, then for vertical format my styling would be like this. Like this we can apply our properties. So the last concept of this session is z-index. This is a very simple and important concept. Okay, so z-index is used to move elements in a 3D format. Let's say this is my web page, and I'm having an element on my web page, something like this. Initially this is my z-axis, right? This is my I want you guys to imagine this, right? This is my z-axis. Right now, initially, defaultly, the z-axis is 0. Now I want to move this element backwards. So I will give z-axis as -1. When I give z-axis as -1, the element will move backwards and it will not visible on my screen. Now when I give z-axis as positive, the element will come on the front side of my web page. So let us observe by an example how z-axis work. Now when you search z-index, we'll get a website of I think W3 School. They will explain it in a very simple format. So you can see that. Let us try this. So I'm having a tree as a background to this text, because this text will have default z-index as 0, and we have given the image z-index as -1. That is why it is going beyond the text. Okay, got it? Now let's say I'm giving z-index as 0 or 1. Let me run this. Then the image will come in the forward of, or you can say above on text. So let me run this. You can see that the text is now coming on top of text, right, on top of this text. Similarly, if I give 0, then I will have the same thing, right? The text will come on top of my text, right? The image will come on top of text. Similarly, if I give -1, then you can see that the element will go backwards. So to move elements in 3-dimensional format, we use z-index. So with that being said, we have studied what is GridBox model, animations in CSS, media queries, and z-index. So till now we have completed almost every important concept in CSS. Now in the next session, we are gonna do a mini project using whatever the concepts we have learned till now. So with that being said, I think the lecture is now 1 hour 15 minutes, so I will stop here. So with that being said, I will see you in the next one.